From atop the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including if you're listening on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. If you want to take a listen to our archives, we have them free for you at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rocket Out to Bubblefoot, reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR, Newswire, and much more. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter for the show at Spaced Out Radio and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. He is one of the top broadcasters in this genre. He's a paranormal television star, and tonight, the secrets to his success. Dave Schrader is a longtime radio show host who focuses on the strange, fringe, and bizarre. He and his co-host Tim Dennis started off with Darkness Radio in 2006, which grew into a widely popular radio show across the United States. He then became a fill-in host for George Noory at Coast to Coast AM. That is heard right across the world. Millions upon millions of listeners. More recently, Midnight in the Desert he hosted until just a couple of months ago. Dave now hosts the popular television show The Holzer Files, along with Darkness Radio presents Beyond the Darkness. He is an author as well, co-writing the book The Other Side, A Teen's Guide to Ghost Hunting and the Paranormal. We're going to learn all about Mr. Schrader here momentarily. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will bring you the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Dave Schrader, what a pleasure it is to finally hook up with you on Spaced Out Radio for the first time. I've been looking forward to this for a long time. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, but can we back off on the you and I hooking up together thing? That sounds a little dodgy, Scott.
I know. I'm sorry. It's a Dave thing. You know, Dave, I do have to say this. Sure. As someone who has been there and done it all in the paranormal field, from successful broadcaster to successful television show, successful paranormal investigator, where do you find time for the little Daves in the world like us?
Well, first of all, let me say, you have a phenomenal voice. What a great speaking voice, a great personality. And I mean, I know why you do what you do. You definitely have that calling. You have just a great flow, and it brings me right back to an Art Bell feel with the way that you opened up the program. So kudos to you and congratulations for having such a fantastic program.
Face for radio, my friend. Face for radio. That's what does it.
Yeah, it doesn't stop me from getting on TV, though. So the face for radio is now starting to transcend that market, man. We're about to take over.
Well, I hope so. Because, you know, I got two things going for me. The face for radio and this whole Canadian thing. You know, the accent throws off a few people, but that's all right. We're working on it. Dave, I got to ask you, you know, there is a lot going on in paranormal radio. When you started back in 2006, you know, podcasting was just becoming an adventure for people. Nobody really knew what it was. There was this entire genre that was bred and born out of that. And now everybody and their dog has their own podcast and so-called radio show, YouTube channel, everything going on. How has the market changed since you started, and is it for the better?
Ooh, wow, what a minefield. You know, it's exploded. So there's a positive side to it. And I don't want to say negative, but there's an upside and a downside to all of this, right? When we started in 2006, there was just a smattering of people that were out there, you know, like a Jim Harold, Ghostly Talk, Night Watch, Coast to Coast AM. And that was really all I was aware of. And we were coming into the marketplace in Minnesota. And I told my producer and co-host Tim, when he said, hey, we've got this opening on Sunday nights at 11 to midnight. Do you want to do a radio show together? And we had done it together in college. I said, sure, let's get together. And he goes, what do you want to talk about? I said, how about the paranormal? We can kind of be the local lead in to shows like Coast to Coast AM. And he said, do you think we have enough to talk about? I said, man, we have more than enough. And we launched, our first episode was with Jason Hawes from Ghost Hunters and Rosemary Ellen Guiley and John Zaffis, a local author and paranormal enthusiast, Annie Wilder. And when we came to the program director with those guests, they gave us the nod. Within, I think, 2 to 3 months, they moved us from 1 hour to 2 hours every Sunday. And we sat there for a few years till we moved to a much bigger, broader radio station for the next 8 years. So it's, watching the development along the lines of how people came up, I really lucked into the spot. My co-host and producer, Tim, brought me back to the dance, which I love. And I've watched shows come and go over the years. And I'm glad that we're just still sitting here and doing what we love to do. And people are digging it. So the downside is sometimes there is such a glut of paranormal programming and people that, just because you have an interest in law doesn't make you a lawyer. Just because you have an interest in medicine and read WebMD doesn't make you a doctor. But anybody with a computer and a microphone is now a radio host. And that's good because some amazing cream has raised to the top here. And we've got fantastic shows that have really blown up. And then we've had so many that have bogged the system down that it's burned out guests that would be great on yours or my show. But by the time we get them, they're like, yeah, I've done enough shows and they were horrible. And I don't think this is my thing. So there was that burnout that happened for a while, and it was harder and harder to get really solid guests because there were so many shows pulling at them.
I got to ask you, and I've heard it too, you've heard it too. The one critique we always get is, you're no Art Bell. I get it. You get it. You kind of sat in that same chair, technically speaking, with Midnight in the Desert. Is it fair that to this day we all get critiqued by the legend of one man?
Sure. It's like Johnny Carson. Nobody will be Johnny Carson again. But I don't think there's here's the issue I have. There will never be another Art Bell, but that time in history, I don't know if suddenly we were able to pull Johnny Carson out of time and space and throw him on the late night TV, I don't know if he would come across the same way he did. He had his time, the 60s, 70s, 80s, right? That was kind of a different era, and he was the right fit for that era. And Art Bell, although he wasn't the first, right? He was one of the most prolific at what he did with kind of bringing the supernatural to the public and making it accessible on late night radio. There'll never be another Art Bell, but I don't know if we grabbed Art at his peak and threw him into 2020, if even what he brought to it would work the same way anymore, because there's not as many live callers, because we don't even call each other and people we love. We'd rather text them. There's not the same kind of limited availability for people to question everything. Now you and I are discussing something and I can say, well, I was on the haunted battlefield at the Alamo, which, took place in 1812, and 500 people are going to tell me, idiot, it didn't happen in 1812. Back when Art Bell was really kind of at his peak, there wasn't somebody that was challenging everything. It allowed the theater of the mind. People could just let the story be the star, and Art was the Twilight Zone narrator that walked us through it. So none of us could ever do what Art did. All we can do is bring something to the plate that is specifically us, which, I've spoken to the people that worked with Art Bell, and I was very touched by many of them, old producers, friends, and guests who said, you're no Art Bell, but man, you do a great job, and I'm always pleased to listen to you and work with you. And Art would not have wanted you to be the next Art Bell. He was already Art Bell. You need to be Dave Schrader. And I took that to heart. So I don't care when people beat me up and say you're no Art Bell. That's fine. It would be, to me, somebody coming on and trying to do his voice and his mannerisms, I think is more of a slap and a shock than it is homage to him, because I think he was so original. He would want originality in what we do. And that, I think, is the real legacy of what Art Bell created with this kind of programming.
Absolutely. And, the one thing that I always say about Art, it took Wayne Gretzky and the NHL 70 years before the Great One came along. And
right.
You got a little piece of them there. We all got a little piece of enjoying that. And, one of the only times I ever froze in radio in interviewing anybody was with Gretzky back in 2006. He turned to me for a question. We were in a scrum, and he turned to me for my question, my turn, and my mind went blank, and I was that 7-year-old kid waiting for that autograph, even though I couldn't ask him. I didn't know what to do. I backed off. But, when it comes to radio and this type of programming, sure, Art wasn't the first, but for our generation and this generation, he was the most notable. He was the biggest name. He had that pizzazz, that scary voice that took you into the night, into a different genre. And the one thing that I always say to my audience is, we don't want to be Art Bell. We want to be the first Dave Scott, like you wanted to be the first Dave Schrader, and kind of build your own legacy. When you look back on your career, out of everything you do and the tens of thousands of fans that still to this day rely on your broadcasting and your voice and knowledge, what do you take out of that? What lessons have you learned?
And that's a great, insightful question. I'm touched regularly by the response I get from listeners on something that, listen, you and I are privileged to have this job. We get to talk about something that we love. We get to do a medium that was something that meant something to you and I. And sometimes we forget that there's other people listening. And part of what I adopted when I did the show, I did it from a different approach, and I've taken heat for it for 14 years. I don't steep myself in the story of the person who's coming on. I really want to learn along with the listener who Dave Scott is. I don't want to know your whole backstory before I even get you on the air. I want a couple of highlights and bullet points, and then I want to learn along with everybody. And I've taken a lot of beating for that, because they're like, oh, you didn't even read the book. Well, first of all, you know this as well as I do, hosting a nightly show. You can't read every book. You can't involve that deeply into each guest, because there's just not enough time in the day. But you can do a cursory overview and get a feel for it, and then take the conversation in the way that you can. And so that's been important to me, is in finding my voice. And to my co-host's credit, Tim, he had much more experience in radio. And I said, how are we going to do this? Who's going to lead? He said, you're going to lead. He goes, you can't have two captains piloting a ship. Otherwise, it's going to sound like The View. We're going to be talking over each other, interrupting each other. You lead. I'm here that when you have to rest your weary head, I'll step up and ask some questions. I'll help push the ship further. And that, to me, was a great moment. And I think that's why 14 years later, we're still blowing high on the high seas and doing what we can to keep the vessel moving. Art was a solo show, and Coast to Coast is a solo show with, side characters. I was lucky enough to get to do Art Bell's first show, Coast to Coast AM, and get to be, really kind of the final host of his final show with Midnight in the Desert. To me, that was kind of hitting the jackpot right there. Is I got to do something and straddle those worlds where that'll always be a part of who I am and what I can take forward with me.
I got to ask you, because in radio, we all have them. Most embarrassing blooper you've ever had on the air?
Oh, man. Well, blooper. I guess when I was hosting Coast to Coast AM one night, and we had this guest on, and he was a demonologist, and he was very full of himself and spent the better part of the hour talking down to me and being very, I'm better than everybody else attitude. But whatever, this guest needs to shine. I want to give them the chance to really put themselves out there. And the producer from Coast to Coast was in my ear going, God, this guy's horrible, Dave. He's treating you so poorly. If you want to just hang up with him. And I tell him during the breaks, no, I think this guy has a good story. We have to break through his defenses and get him to shine. And at the top of the hour, after the next break, at the top of the hour, they were like, Dave, just jettison this guy. And I'm like, no. I have a question. And then we'll see where it goes. Now, just before the break, this guy kind of got in a bluster and he started naming demons on the air. And you and I, we're not demonologists, we're not exorcists, but we both know enough that, according to legend and lore, you don't sit there and recite demon names because supposedly that gives them the power.
That's right.
And if you're reciting it over a radio show that has millions of listeners and then will go into the archives and be played millions of times, it seems like that could be a problem. So I just wanted to address that when we came out, and I didn't do it. In my opinion, I don't believe I did it aggressively. I just said, it came back. I was like, Dave, I'm just curious. Before the break, you started to tell me all this, and you rattled off like 10 demon names. I've always been told that by saying their names, it can really empower them. And, is there any concern on your part that by saying those names, giving that acknowledgement, and especially to a broad audience like this who might listen to this over and over and play it over and over, by saying those names out loud, can it cause a problem? And he got very blustery and upset with me. And his response was not to try to talk about it or enlighten me. He just became boresome and, well, did you read this book on demonology? Did you read the Demonic Handbook? Did you read this? Did you read that? Well, I have. I've read them all. And when he got done blathering at me, I said, well, the one book you forgot was How to Win Friends and Influence People. Have a good night. And I hung up on him. And I said, hold tight. We'll be back with more Coast to Coast AM right after this. And I went to commercial, and my producer jumped in my ear and he said, that was effing amazing. Thank you. That was awesome. And I came back on, and that caused a petition, and you could still find it out there, the petition to get me kicked off the air. And it was a huge groundswell. I think 30 people signed it. So of the millions of listeners on Coast to Coast, we got 30 really agitated people that hated me enough to sign that. So kind of the blooper to me was I should have been better than that, and found a better way to end it. So to me, it was fun. It was evocative. And the producers on hand enjoyed it. Overall, the people at Premiere thought that was the wrong way to end that segment. I tried to explain to them. To me, it felt like I was watching George Noory's home, and he allows me to curate his home, and I wouldn't let somebody come in and bull rush and start knocking over tables and chairs, and I would boot them out for being like that. And I felt that this guy was being very disrespectful to me, to the show, to the sense of what we were there to do. And they disagreed. So that has always bothered me, that I felt like I let George Noory down and Premiere and Coast to Coast with that one instance. So that, although it wasn't much of a blooper, that would be it. I would say the only other blooper I could mention would go back to college. And I was on radio at KQAL. I had a late night show on Sundays from 10 p.m. till 2 a.m. And I know Barther, the great Bart L, will enjoy this. It was all slow music by request. It was called Sunday Night Softly. And wonderful. I used to use the online moniker as the Dark Night DJ. I didn't use Dave Schrader. I didn't want people bothering me. And they used to when I was Dave Schrader on the air. So I just went to Dark Night DJ, and I do these deals, and I talked real slow, and we've got another song going out by request. This is Dave Scott's request from the Eagles. This is Desperado, right? And I flip the switch, and it starts playing, and I sit back in my chair, and this is what goes out over the air. Desperado, why don't you come off your fences? No. And I'm singing like that at the top of my lungs because I'm so tired of this stupid song. And before you start writing me hate mail, listen, when you have to keep playing the same song every week, it gets on your nerves. Desperado's a great song. It just was so campy to me. And all of a sudden, I see the light start flickering in the studio. Now, the light, as you know, only flickers when your microphone is live because you don't want it the air. And I slowly looked down and I realized I left my mic on. So I was singing Desperado in that voice over the air. And then I flipped off my microphone and grabbed my phone to uproarious laughter from the other end going, dude, that's hilarious. Keep singing. And I nope, I'm good. Thanks. And hung up. That embarrassed the hell out of me for probably a good 6 months.
Tell you mine. I'm on the air in Vancouver reading the sports. It's middle of the afternoon on a Saturday, and I'm going through the baseball scores. And I get to the Chicago White Sox. I forget who they were playing, Milwaukee or somebody like that. And I called them the Chicago Whitecocks on the air. 400,000 people listening. How do you butcher the Chicago White Sox like that? All of a sudden, I hear the entire newsroom behind me killing themselves laughing that me, the big bad sports guy, just dropped that on the air live in the middle of the high traffic on the weekend. It was hilarious.
That reminds me real quickly. I know we got to go to a break here in a minute. I remember also doing college radio, and I was doing news. And one of the girls that worked at the studio, who is a friend of ours, walked in as I'm reading the news. She flips her shirt up at us. And I'm trying not to laugh on air. And everybody else is just breaking up in the newsroom. And I grab my next story, and I'm like, today in Tel Aviv, there was a bomb that killed 42 people. Wiping out an entire family. And I'm like, oh my God. And I couldn't stop laughing as I'm reading this horrific news story of a bombing. So that, again, that was another one of those, hopefully very early on in my career, moments that terrified and humiliated me afterwards.
My goodness. We've got about 1 minute to go here before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Dave Schrader is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Favorite guest that you've ever had in 45 seconds?
Dan Aykroyd and his father, Peter Aykroyd, coming on the show. Dan has been on twice. Peter, his father, came on once. To me, that was a real, that was really beautiful. The experience and having the chance to talk to Peter and Dan and realize that it isn't just movie machinations, but that their family is truly historically tied to the paranormal.
Isn't it weird that they've had all these experiences, plus the tie to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police as well?
Yeah, it's phenomenal, and I love that it goes all the way back like a few generations in their family of these type of investigations.
It's huge. It's huge. Dave, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour here. Dave Schrader is our guest. Yes, Darkness Dave. It's all Dave, all night tonight on Spaced Out Radio. We're going to get into some UFOs, some paranormal, the Holzer Files. We got a lot coming up here with one of the best radio broadcasters that the paranormal has ever seen and heard. He's got a great goatee, too. Give him credit for that. Dave Schrader continues on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between, with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello, Space Travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our archives on youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, which is updated daily. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show. My personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. From Darkness Radio and Television's Holzer Files, we have Dave Schrader with us tonight. We're getting into everything paranormal. Why? Why not? The two Daves finally coming together, and I'm having a lot of fun here. I hope you as the listeners are too. Mr. Schrader, welcome back.
It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Out of everything you have done in the paranormal field, through radio, the thousands of guests you've talked to, and through television, the people have you met, is there a story or a person specifically, or maybe two, that really stood out for you to this day after 14 years of doing this that really touched your heart?
There's been a few that have impacted me along the way, telling these stories. And, you mentioned, we were talking earlier and I kind of got off on a tangent, which I know is hard to believe, but I was saying that, I really love hearing from the listeners of these shows and how you take for granted how you impact and affect people. It's, I forget that I'm talking to my best buddy and we're just having a conversation with a guest and how people listening to the show might be affected. So it really touches me when I get emails and meet people in person that tell me how what we've done and said and the entertainment we've brought has meant something to them. So there's been a few times, like, talking to Dan Aykroyd, you've got to try to fight back the feeling of being in awe of this person that you've grown up loving and watching on TV and in movies. But knowing that, he came on my show the first year when we literally were as green could be. And he took control of the radio show. He gave us a great hour. And then, 3-4 years later, when his dad wrote the book and we reached out to him again, he said, I would love to do your show again. I loved the way you handled me before. And he came back on and allowed me to be the host this time. And we had a great back and forth and a conversation with his father, and his love and passion and curiosity for this field and the way he treated me with such compassion was great. So that's really touched me. I sat down across from Judith Very Baker.
Yes.
And are you familiar with Judith?
Yes, she's been on the show.
Right. Judith is, she was in town. She came into our studio, sat across from me. And for those of you that don't know Judith, she was the lover of Lee Harvey Oswald. And my birthday is November 22nd, and I was born 4 years after Kennedy was assassinated, but I've always had to share that day with this tragedy. And I was over the whole conspiracy thing, but to get a chance to talk to this woman, she came in with these scrapbooks and she showed me photographs and she showed me punch cards from their work that were signed by him and everything. She told me these stories, and it was the tenderness of her story. And it made me re-examine something that I had closed the book on years before in my own mind. And I walked away for the first time really believing that Lee Harvey Oswald may have had absolutely nothing to do with the assassination of Kennedy. That was the first time I even conceived of that possibility. And her story touched me the way she shared it. And, she talked about she was just so candid. She was talking about how she and Lee were walking down this boardwalk at one time holding hands, and he started singing this love song to her. And we went to commercial break and came out of it, and Tim, my co-host, started playing that song as our bumper music. And this woman fell apart in front of me. She just began sobbing. And I realized to her this was all very real. And it opened me up to the experience even more. So that was an important part. And just having some people that have just come forward to tell us their stories, people that were terrified and felt like they would be judged or looked down upon for what they experienced, and writing to me afterwards and telling me how much it meant to finally get that off their chest, and the great feedback they got from people and the love. That's been part of it. So there's too many out there to even start to put my top 5 together. But I would say Dan Aykroyd and Judith Very Baker were two that really kind of struck a chord with me that way.
Dave Schrader is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Dave, radio really has been such a beautiful genre for the paranormal, especially at nighttime. Not so much on the terrestrial now, because Coast to Coast and other shows are really starting to turn more into an all-around varying type of program rather than just the paranormal. Yet television, which you're also involved with the Holzer Files, has really grabbed a hold of paranormal and UFOs and Bigfoot and taken off with it. Why do you think radio is so behind in capturing the essence of paranormal that television has just run right to the bank with?
For the same reason that video killed the radio star, right? Music meant something at one point, and it didn't matter what you looked like, right? Janis Joplin, an amazing musician. If she popped up in 1984, do you think she would have been who she was?
Probably not.
Right. You look at the perspective of what TV can bring. TV is good for those that are maybe, kind of stunted, people that are stunted in the ability to imagine things anymore. They like to have it played out for them. They like to get the visual context. They want to see. Whereas there's a real art to the theater of the mind. And coaxing from people's stories and engaging them. And that, again, that was a great talent that Art Bell had. He would get people to open up, and that's what I've worked on, and you work on so eloquently on the show, is getting them to open up. I think it's just that there are masses that are more intrigued by the visual aspect of it and want to see. And then there are those that are great at hearing the story, and that becomes even more terrifying or exciting because of what their mind creates in the story.
And that's the big one. We got to paint a picture on radio. Those 12-second answers that some guests give. People who are not on the other side have no idea how tough this job can be. But, the way I look at it is, as we're trying to grow Spaced Out Radio and market to market on a terrestrial side from an independent level, the hardest part is that it's amazing how many program directors out there do not see the value. Yet if you're pitching a television show, they're going to see if it's something different that they can grasp their claws into. You may not get paid a lot of money, but they want to see what you got. And it's amazing that one is kind of pushing away the genre, the other one saying, yeah, come on in. We're only getting millions of listener or viewership every week because they love this programming, so we're going to give them more and more and more. It's just, I don't get it. Is radio that backwards in a lot of these markets, or is it the people involved?
There's a great documentary. I wish I could remember the name of it. I know my beautiful wife is listening right now, and maybe she can look it up on Netflix for me. But it was like fm.com or something was the name of this documentary, and it spoke about how radio has changed over the years, why, and how when it became corporate radio as opposed to talent-driven radio, it changed the way people listen. And we were kind of forced into a new habit. And even in today's society, most snippets, if you listen to a morning radio show where they might have been able to go on for 20 minutes on a topic, now it's 5 minutes in and out. And when they come back, they better have a new topic to cover. And they treat us with that MTV generation mindset where we need something big, flashy, and every 5 minutes, I need something new. Long form interviewing skills and abilities, both as the interviewer and interviewee, are tough because there are not a lot of people that can pull off a 3-hour show. I took a lot of heat on Midnight because they were like, oh, Art Bell would have. Well, great, Art Bell would have, but a lot of these guests can't pull their head out of their ass for a half an hour, let alone 3 hours. And I don't mean that rudely, but some of the, you can be an eloquent writer who's written an amazing book. And I get him on the air and I'm like, so Dave, this first time you saw the demon look around the corner at you, what was that like? It was terrifying.
Oh, yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
But okay, I understand that. But I mean, if you think about it right now, how does it, the tactile feel? Did your skin, feel electric? Did your breath leave your lungs? Not really. Or, yeah. And you're like, oh my God, how did you write a 380-page book and you can't talk? So, the long form, there are few guests that can do it really well, really, and keep people engaged and having fun and learning something along with you, and are willing to change up their voices so that the entire conversation is not like this. And yeah, Dave, I saw UFOs once in Trout Lake, Washington, and it was quite a spectacular experience. People phase in and out. They want to have something compelling and a back and forth. And I think you can agree, 14 years I've been doing this. Sometimes I should be a dentist by now. I've learned to pull teeth so well.
I know the feeling. Hey, we did a show on a street lamp UFO, a 23-second video. We got 2.5 hours out of.
That's great.
Beautiful.
Right. And when you can get somebody that can do that, that's a really great lost art. I would fight. And there were times I'd get guests on Midnight or even on Darkness where I thought, oh my God, this guy's written 10 books. And 15 minutes into the interview, I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to fill the next 40 minutes, let alone 3 hours. And then you get somebody who, saw Bigfoot once for 5 seconds. And at the end of 2 hours, I'm thinking, oh God, I wish I had another hour with this person. And it's just, it doesn't fold out that well, but that's why TV is great at taking aspects that are flash and dazzle and boiling it down to those moments so that you keep people engaged. We've become a complacent society who always needs the next best thing.
What topic did you hate talking about or refuse to talk about in regards to the paranormal?
Well, paranormal being a big wide spectrum conversation, in paranormal radio, listen, you say paranormal radio, it kind of cryptids, UFOs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ghosts, demons, conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories have always been the worst for me because I got to be honest with you, Dave, being a dad and just being a human, sometimes the conspiracy theories take me down such a dark rabbit hole that it's hard to pull my head back out of it. And I've suffered with lifelong depression and anxiety. So it's not a pleasurable experience for me to think about the fact that our government may be trying to kill us, and that they're testing chemicals on us and testing this on us and taking this away from us, or using social media, which is supposed to be a fun outlet for communication, and manipulating what we see on it so that it can figure out what we buy better and when we buy. That to me, okay, it's happening. I don't want to keep rubbing my nose in it. Just like with the COVID crisis right now, I have people asking, well, was this released from a lab? And we don't talk about it on our radio show because you can hear COVID everywhere. I want for 2 hours on Saturday, 2 hours on Sunday to take you to another place where reality is subjective. And we can discuss the possibilities. And so that's always been kind of my goal. And I think that, I don't know, that's just part of my little soapbox. But, I think there's just a lot of inherent problems between TV and radio. And you have sometimes two distinctly different kind of people that view it. And it's kind of like trying to get somebody to change on their thoughts of abortion or politics. they have a concept, which is radio, or they have a concept, which is TV, and it's hard to get them off either one. There are not many that can enjoy both equally.
See, for me, it's about the heavy-duty science of it all. Dave, I'm not a scientist. I've told my listeners I'm not a scientist. I'm a guy who went to broadcasting school and learns how to yap like a chihuahua on a crosswind at 25 miles an hour. And I can go and go and go. And for me, without being understanding the full science aspect and being an experiencer of the strange and weird as well, I want to know what people are doing. And everybody has to have a focus and a genre. And I think too many times we try and bring that out. So, like, there are people, and I'll say their names and I have nothing against them. I probably would interview them, but I have no interest in going after a Michio Kaku or Neil deGrasse Tyson or somebody along those lines, because I'm not skilled enough to do that interview with scientists like that. But put me in front of somebody who can, I could sit there and talk about what it's like to view a black triangle. I'm all over it.
And
you know what I'm saying?
I get intimidated sometimes by the guests as well, because you have this preconceived notion of Neil deGrasse Tyson, this guy, he's going to be talking over my head. And I was nervous when I had a chance to interview him. But you know what? I found him charming. I found him great. And he dumbs it down enough to make it fun to chat with him. There are people I talk to that it's like watching wallpaper dry. Wallpaper paste dry. And then there are people like Neil deGrasse Tyson and Michio Kaku who I think have a real excitement for what they're discussing, and they can bring it in. It just, I had to remind myself, they get up and eat their cereal and put on their clothes the same way I do. So just talk to them as people instead of, oh my God, it's Neil deGrasse Tyson, right? You just have to experience them for that moment. But you're right. I get people that are like, oh, I just want the science. Why can't we get to the science? And I can watch the stream drop the minute somebody starts talking science. So yeah, for the 200 people that like that, the 50,000 tuned out. And I would rather get the 50,000 involved in listening to the show and engage them with something they find entertaining than the 200, because they can go find it on another show. It doesn't mean I don't think it's important, but I may not make it the focus of that program. I'll bring them on for an hour unless they've got something. If there's some of these scientists are so good at telling a story and engaging you, and some are, today we'll be discussing the theory of chalk, and you're like, oh my God. And you get bored with it real quick. So I've tried to give everybody their shot to see what goes on. And if I feel, science is boring and this is not engaging me or my audience, then let's just go with the flash and dazzle and the fun, the entertainment of what people tune in for. But I appreciate what you're saying on your end. And I find myself sometimes dreading an interview because I'm afraid I'm just not good enough to talk to this person. And some of those have been some of my favorite and best interviews, Michio Kaku and Neil deGrasse Tyson being two of them.
We've got about 4.5 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Dave Schrader from Darkness Radio is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Dave, speaking of Neil deGrasse Tyson, he has taken a lot of heat over the last week over his stance on the UFO videos that came out. You're a gentleman who has interviewed him. He has come out and stated point blank he doesn't believe UFOs are here or aliens are here. When you see somebody like that, when you have all of the facts laid out, the government has put out the facts. They claim them as UFOs. And we have this gentleman saying, no.
They call them UAPs.
UAPs. I refuse to use that term. I'm old school that way. But does that not just make you shake your head? Because we get a lot of smart scientists, coming around here, and I learn from I'm trying to learn more. But when you have somebody of his ilk, his following, and he's out there in denial a little bit by that, not to put words in his mouth, but does that not just hurt the field in what we're trying to cover and what we're trying to expose to the realities of humankind?
Here's the point. Reality is what we make it. And I believe that. I love when somebody is dismissive of it, because honestly, if everybody's on the same side, there's no compelling conversation to be had. I like when somebody has a different point of view because, listen, Rosemary Ellen Guiley challenged me with this one day. She goes, so wait, you'll talk openly about demons and ghosts, UFOs and aliens and cryptids, but I mention fairies and you kind of roll your eyes and laugh. Why? And I'm like, because they're fairies. And she's like, which you understand predate alien encounters and Bigfoot encounters. And could the Bigfoot be part of this fairy folk? Could aliens? And suddenly she gave me a new perspective on ways to look and examine a concept. I like that you have guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson who are going to say, I don't believe this because, okay, then tell me why. I don't know how you feel on this, but sometimes, listen, I may get a great guest on. I don't believe a word this guy is saying, not one word out of his mouth. But what fascinates me is that he believes it. And I love to learn, why do you believe this so much? What does that tell me about who I'm speaking with? And I love those concepts. And there are times that it's easy to throw the baby out with the bathwater. But there have been shows that I've done, Dave, where Tim and I will be rolling our eyes, and you've got a lot of balls doing a video version of your show because I think I would, I'm always afraid people would just watch me and be bored out of their mind or see Tim and I rolling their eyes. But sometimes we'll roll our eyes but not say a word on air derogatory to what we believe this person's saying. And all of a sudden I start getting emails saying, Dave, thank you for having that guest on. I've been suicidal because I thought I was the only one that ever experienced that. And now I know other people have. And I realized, wow, okay, so your reality is something different than mine. And it's okay that we explore these facets and allow everybody an equal voice.
I hear you there. We got about 2 minutes here, but actually more about 90 seconds here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Do you believe then that out of everything you have done, and we're going to get more into the paranormal in the next hour with you, but out of everything that you've done, is there any more for you to accomplish on your own personal goals within the paranormal field?
Oh, God, I hope so. The minute I hang it up, think I've seen it all and done it all, that's the end for me. I just did something really exciting about 2 months ago. I had a chance to take an ayahuasca journey. And that's something that terrified me and excited me and thrilled me all at the same time. And I did it. And it was life-affirming, life-changing. I loved every aspect of it. And now I want to continue to challenge. I'm not an outdoorsman. I've never really enjoyed that. Dr. Melba Ketchum told me, I can put you in an area where I believe you're going to have a Bigfoot encounter. And I've been trying to find time that works with me and the guide that she's going to put me together with. I would love to get out there and put myself in that area. I would love to have more experiences like I did at Trout Lake, Washington, where I heard James Gilliland say on a clear night, you have a 90 to 95% chance of seeing something. I want to go out and I want to see something. I want to be a part of those moments.
Let me tell you, if you can't find a sand squatch, just go to LGAB. That's all you need to do. LGAB. Dave, hold on right there because we're going to go to break here at the top of the hour. We have Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files and Darkness Radio. We're going to get into more paranormal stories coming up here because, hell, we got to talk some ghosts with this guy. Maybe a little UFOs and Bigfoot as well. Why not? We have him for another 90 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. 1 hour down. Hour 2 coming up on the Mighty SOR, so stay tuned.
Hi, this is Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where we store all of the SOR show archives for free. And as an added bonus, every 2 weeks I'm posting brand new content on Cryptid Tales, where I will get into some of the spookier legends and folklore from around the world and tell the stories that go with them. Find us at youtube.com/spacedoutradio and check out Cryptid Tales today. Drop a comment and let me know what you want to hear. See you there.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend, woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you an experiencer of something strange that can't be explained? Do you want help finding out what's going on? I'm Ryan Stacy, head of the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We've teamed up with Spaced Out Radio to investigate cases filled out in the SOR Sightlines report. We are independent and there's no cost to what we do. All we need is your experience. Let's find out what's happening together on the SOR Sightlines report.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at mightymoosebeard.com today.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show. Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us, especially if you are listening to one of our terrestrial affiliates across North America and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Remember, you can check out all of our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Interception. Interception is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, rock out to Bumblefoot, and so much more. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show. My personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Tonight, legendary broadcaster of the paranormal, Dave Schrader from Darkness Radio, is with us. And of course, he has his great television show, which has rave reviews, The Holzer Files. And we're going to just have some paranormal talk here tonight. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to spend with us here tonight.
Desperado! Why?
Oh,
are we back on air?
Hold on, I just put the horns up for our YouTube crowd watching on YouTube. And I know Sasquatch and the crew will love that. So, there we go. Rocking on out, man. Rocking on out. I got to ask you. Yes. I know you've had your own paranormal experiences that led you down this road. But what haven't you seen yet that you are wanting to experience?
Ah, boy. You got to be careful what you ask for. Right. I guess I would like to see a straight up alien, extraterrestrial. I saw something fly through the skies at Trout Lake, Washington, that looked like a being fluttering, like a giant stingray swimming across the sky. I was told that it was a half living, half machine. That's how it got in between dimensions. And as absurd as that sounds, I have no other explanation for what I witnessed, but I would love to come face to face with aliens.
Oh, you just need a Carl experience. We got to send Carl over to you.
Carl?
Do you know the story? Do you know the story about Carl?
Do I know the story about Carl? Is he the gentle prober?
Well, no, he doesn't probe. According to Mr. Barther L., no, he does not probe. So on April, we just celebrated the 5-year anniversary. On April 20th, 2015, I was broadcasting my show out of my own house, and we were still on Blog Talk Radio then. And I saw something move.
You mean you're listening to Blog Talk Radio?
Blog Radio, exactly.
I remember Blog Talk.
Oh yeah, I think we all started there at one point. But all of a sudden, like I had this studio built in this old bedroom right beside my front door. Horrible positioning, but it was what I had in my house. And literally, I saw something move out the window coming towards my front door. And I'm thinking, oh, crap, my dogs are going to start barking. One of my friends is coming to the door, and we had one of those houses that we would always allow people to come in at any time because we wanted to make sure our house was, a house for everybody, for our friends and close-knit family and all that kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, I realized a few minutes later there was no barking. And so I'm interviewing Harvey Kraft at that time, talking about Buddha. I put my microphone on mute. I swivel my chair over to the left, and the windows are maybe 6 feet from me. And I look out the window, and on the other side of that window is the largest headed gray alien that I have ever seen.
Get out of here.
Staring back at me.
Had you been drinking?
No. And I know it happened on 420. Okay, and I don't use the hippie lettuce or anything like that. The devil's lettuce is just not Dave's system. All right, but
Satan's coleslaw not in your roundhouse there. Okay,
nothing. I'll tell you, man. I did what any man would do. I screamed like a banshee and nearly fell out of my chair, and then I jumped up to see. Okay, let's see if this is a person, because if it was a person running away, I would have seen him. Everything just happened that fast, and there was nobody there. Nobody there. So I had to nickname him. So called him Carl.
Carl.
Carl
the alien. Yeah, why not? I guess it's as good a name as any.
Exactly. Good manly name, solid.
Carl the alien.
Yeah.
Now, have you considered having a regression to see if maybe some probing did take place? It's just been mind wiped?
Oh, man, that's what we got to do. That's where you got to bring me on your show one time, and I'll fill you in on old Davy's experiences that got him into this.
I'd love to have you on. We'll make it happen.
Absolutely. But for you, what intrigues you about seeing an alien?
It's just the concept of that proof. Like if you had me in front of three doors, and this is one of my favorite questions to guests, is if I had you in front of three doors, and I could guarantee you that if you opened this door, there would be proof of extraterrestrial life or not. You open this door, there would be proof of Bigfoot or not. You open this door, there would be proof of ghosts or not. Which door would you want to open most to see one way or another if it existed? Alien would be mine, because I have a hard time believing that there's not intelligent life elsewhere. I just can't believe that source, God, the universe, whatever you want to give it the name of, would stop with one lowly rock with life on it. And there's been too many people that have had too many experiences from too many walks of life to just summarily dismiss it. But that would be my one aspect. I did an episode of Ghost Adventures where we went to this place called the Stardust Ranch. And I went out there. I wanted to, this guy made all kinds of insane claims that he had killed some aliens by driving a samurai sword through them, that he had his wife had been molested by aliens and interdimensional beings, that across the way over this mountaintop there was huge UFO sightings that took place, all of this taking place on his property. So during the investigation on the episode, Zach Bagans said to me, Dave, I heard that you'd be interested in being abducted. And I'm like, well, abducted is subjective, but yeah, I would like to go to outer space. He goes, well, but would you want to be abducted? I'm like, yeah, I guess I would. He said, well, what if we put you up on the mountain by yourself? And I said, all right, let's do it. And they brought me up there and they, set me up. And I said, well, here's my walkie-talkie and here's my cell phone. And they're like, why? And I said, because if they're truly this type of life, they're going to know if I've got a way to call for help. I'm on my own. I don't want to flare. I don't want anything. I want to be here and have an experience. to me, that was exciting. So much so that I was overlooking the fact that there are mountain lions and coyotes and rattlesnakes, and I was standing up on this mountain by myself. But I wanted to have the experience, and while we were there, they had a night vision light cannon set up over on the other side to mask the area I was standing in, so they could film and see me, what I was doing, plus the camera I had. And I was standing up there, and I could hear distinctly the sound of something walking around by the light cannon. And I would use the night vision binoculars, but I couldn't see it because the night vision light was blinding it out. But I could distinctly hear walking around. They caught it on video. So I don't know what was up there with me, but it was an exciting moment. I'd really like to see that aspect. I believe in ghosts. I've had experiences. I've seen what I believe to be a Bigfoot. I would like to have this experience with an alien.
Why do you think that so many people in the mainstream have such a tough time believing this with experiencers? I mean, there's still that mentality that the only people who believe in aliens and UFOs are the conspiracy theorists who work the night shift at the local corner store, and have no dental plan and have never made more than minimum wage.
Right. And here's the deal. That's the image they have to paint and roll their eyes and huff and snort in righteous indignation. But the fact is, I have talked and walked with every walk of life on this planet, every religion, race, belief system, and I have spoken to housewives, to attorney generals that will on the side tell me what they've had happen to them. So they'll, that's ridiculous. Well, when I was a kid. And then they unfurl the story to me. So I think a lot of them are trying to convey a position of intelligence, of honor, whatever you want to bestow upon them, the title of, and they're trying to portray one thing, but most of these people have an experience they're willing to share. Politicians, police officers, lawyers, prison guards. And I just heard from I can't divulge anything other than this, from a jail that is having extremely weird paranormal experiences to the point like deputy sheriffs do not want to come to work because the activity is so off the charts. So to me, that's and that's all I can say about it, because I've promised not to reveal which state, which city, nothing. But just hearing these stories, and I'm waiting to hear from somebody that's going to be looking over activity that's been taking place there and see if this is as legit as they're saying. But, that's exciting to me. I love the challenge of exploring beyond the physical realm that we're used to see what really might be going on around us.
Dave Schrader is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Dave, you have worked behind television, and there's always this big controversy of how set up it is and how much is acting, how much is reality for the investigations and the information they are providing. Why do we never get any full solutions except confirmation whether or not a place is haunted? Are we still at that point where it's all about entertainment rather than actually trying to find some facts?
Well, define entertainment, define facts. I think we provide a lot of facts on the Holzer files, and I've been very proud of the fact that not everything is a demon. Not everything is a malevolent, hateful spirit of evil, that we do try to get to the bottom of what's taking place, what these experiences are, or what they might mean. Of course, it still has to be entertainment. You have to tell the story in a compelling way. Does that mean it's fake? No. But you have to tell the story in a way that engages people, because when you boil it down, we're filming at a location for 5 days. We get 8 seconds of evidence. 8 seconds is nothing in the cosmic scheme of things. So the rest is storytelling and being entertaining. I refuse to be a part of a show that would ask me to fake anything. I told them that straight up. I said, if I find out anybody's faking it, if I find out that production is altering things, so they've been great. When we get our evidence, we film it, we do this. Shane and I are able to take that evidence directly back to the hotel room and go through it and examine every inch of it. It doesn't go through anybody else's hands. So what you see on the show is what we find. That to me is great. And I wouldn't want to put anything out that is less than what we're experiencing. Sometimes you can't capture everything. You just have to go off of the personal experiences. Now, are things scripted? There may be something that we have to say to convey the story and do that, but it doesn't mean that any of it's fake. I mean, listen, when I'm going and knocking on the door and the door opens and the camera's already inside, obviously some of these are set up shots, but it's to get a more compelling view of what you're about to see. I still haven't spoken to that person. It's just that they've got a camera guy in there waiting for us. You know, they've got some of these shots that need to be made. And in the reality of TV, there are times we're having a great conversation and all of a sudden a plane flies over and blanches out the sound. And nobody wants to hear that in a replay. So sometimes we have to redo that conversation and make it seem natural. And we're not actors, so sometimes it looks very fake. Because again, how do you recapture that lightning and excitement of what you just experienced? But you have to do it because it was compelling. It was a good conversation, and it caused us to maybe examine something a little deeper than we would have had we not had that conversation. So nothing has been faked. Do we refilm a few of the moments? Sure, because a mic might have dropped out. I might have reached up and scratched my chest, forgetting that my microphone is right there. And oh my God, did you guys see when that was terrifying. And they lost all my audio. So I've got to go back and say that line again without scratching. So those bits are canned, I guess, but they're not fake. They're just us redoing what we just said, but getting a cleaner take of it.
All right. I do have to ask you, because in that exact same instance on the Holzer Files, you took a lot of heat from people saying you were faking it when you were pushed over. Now, I've seen that video a number of times. To me, it looks completely real. It absolutely looks real. But everybody wants to jump on that's fake bandwagon. Sure. How real was that situation? And for people who may not have seen it, if you could describe it.
All right. So we had gone to the Whaley House, and this was actually the very first episode we ever filmed. The Whaley House in San Diego, it was deemed by Hans Holzer, the legendary ghost hunter and investigator, as the most haunted house in America. So it only made sense that we would start at one of his biggest, most well-known cases. I rolled my eyes and I thought, God, this place has been beaten to death. Do we really have to go in? Is there anything new to learn? And they're like, well, but it's an important part of his story. We need to go there. And I've been hearing for years, Dave, people claim to get scratched or pushed or bit or shoved or their hair tugged. I've never had anything like that occur to me in 14 years of investigating. So to go in, we're trying to examine this story, and we start uncovering new things. And I push a little bit with the docent, and we start to get letters and see things that nobody has ever seen on any of the paranormal shows, including the fact that the Whaleys themselves were sharing letters back and forth while they lived there. I'm reading these handwritten letters where they're talking about the haunting that's taking place while they live there. Most people think it's the Whaleys or Yankee Jim. And we're suddenly thrust into this information and getting all this great. We start realizing the deaths that took place there before it was a house. We start hearing the horrific nature of who was killed and why. And as I start needling one of the spirits, trying to figure out if this is who did it. And one of the daughters, Violet Whaley, had committed suicide by shooting herself. And I was pushing. I said, Juan Verdugo, are you the one that pushed her to shoot, to kill herself? And Dave, my hand to God, the sound of a gunshot went off in the house. And we all jumped. And I was like, what the hell was that? And we were running recorders. I said, did we get that on recording? We went and checked out and couldn't find any source. Nothing fell. There was nobody else in the house, nobody nearby. It was in that house. It sounded like a gunshot. So we start playing back the recorder. And as I'm calling out Juan Verdugo over and over, because we play it 3-4 times, I'm standing there in the dark with Cindy off in front of me to my left. Shane Pittman, our tech, is off to my right. And as we're doing this, you got to remember, it's really dark in this room. When it first happened, I truly thought what had happened was one of the cameramen was coming around me in the dark trying to get a good shot and tripped and fell into me with the camera because it was that heavy of a hit. So when you see me hit the ground and I turn around, I was half pissed off because I'm like, Jesus, pay attention. You've got a night vision camera. We can't see. What's your excuse? And I pivot and there's nothing there. My brain couldn't comprehend what the experience was that just happened to me.
That's
and
incredible.
My ribs hurt, my back hurt. And had Shane not been there, I would have hit that wall with a lot of force. Thankfully, he was there and kind of broke my fall. And I hit the ground like a ton of potatoes. And I felt I'm embarrassed because I looked like a 90-year-old man getting up. I was so shocked, and the wind was knocked out of me that I had to excuse myself. I went outside and was muttering to myself and didn't realize that one of the cameramen had followed me and was kind of watching as I was de-evolving what just happened in my brain. And I'm like, how do you explain this? What is this? What just happened to me? All these years of hearing people being attacked or scratched or bit or shoved, to me just sounded like people are a little overexcitable. Maybe something brushed past them and they took it as a push or a shove. I couldn't even begin to wrap my head around what just took place. So to me, it was exhilarating, terrifying, and really an amazing moment. I realized what we were dealing with, and hey, we just pulled something out of the darkness. We gave it a name after all these years, and it didn't like it. It didn't like that we were mucking about and poking and showing some disrespect. I don't think it was a demon, Dave. I don't think it was a malevolent, bloodthirsty ghost, but I think that it was something letting me know, don't be a pompous ass. And it was basically giving me a good old fashioned shove to just let me realize where the real power was. So it would have been real easy to go down that rabbit hole of, oh my God, it's a demonic attack. I love the fact that the producers let us just evolve the story and didn't push us to make it something hateful and raged and demonic. It was what I just think is a very irritable ghost who was put to death. And for those of you that watched, I don't want to give too much away in case you haven't seen the episode, but there was a death that took place that involved Mr. Whaley. And if anybody would have a reason to be haunting this place, this seems to be it. And the people at the Whaley house were surprised that that's the story that we uncovered, because that wasn't what they expected. They thought we were going to go for low-hanging fruit. And we found something totally different.
Was that the first time that you had been violated by a paranormal entity?
It was the second time at the same location. One did not make it on the air. And I know we have a commercial coming up. I'll be happy to tell you about the other time when we come back.
Well, we got about 45 seconds here, and I have to say that I appreciate you clearing that up, because I think for a lot of people out there, we all think, there's a lot of people out there that think, Dave, that this is staged, this was something, and to hear the passion in your voice tell that story, I think it's very easy to say that there was no way that this was on purpose. That's for sure.
It shocked me, completely shocked me, and threw me off my game.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Dave Schrader is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I know we have a few audience questions building up in our chat rooms. I will pass them on to Dave in the next half hour for him to answer. So please bear with me on that. And of course, Dave is one of the stars of The Holzer Files on television, which documents a bunch of cases from the first real American ghost hunter, Dr. Hans Holzer. And of course, he is the captain of the darkness with Darkness Radio. Dave Schrader continues with us on Spaced Out Radio right after this.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
From the heartlands of Canada to beards around the world, we know how to take care of you. Fill your follicles with the Mighty Moose Beard Oil. All our oils and balms are handmade and 100% natural ingredients because we care about your beard. And hey, use the promo code SOR2019 and get your Mighty Moose Beard Oil today. You can check us out on our website, mightymoosebeard.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
We're taking Sunday nights out of this world on Spaced Out Radio. This is Michael W. Hall, also known as the Paranormal Lawyer. Together, we're going to go on an exciting journey into the unknown. I'm going to bring you some of the best interviews in the paranormal and supernatural to start your new week off on a freaky note. So tune in to Spaced Out Sundays with me, Michael W. Hall, only on spacedoutradio.com.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. So for more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com. Here we go. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time. Hey, I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and you can listen to our resident guitar god, Mr. Bumblefoot, rock it on out as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. We continue the talk of paranormal tonight with legendary radio host Dave Schrader, formerly of Midnight in the Desert, formerly of Coast to Coast, and currently the man behind the darkness, as well as the Holzer Files on television. Dave, welcome back to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate being here.
Legendary. I'm going to see how many times I can get legendary.
I could never get tired of hearing you say it, so you try to squeeze it in as many times as you possibly can.
Just make sure you remind your beautiful wife, Winnie, when the night is done, that you are legendary.
Oh, she knows. How do you think I landed her?
Oh, probably.
Way out of my league. If I wasn't legendary Dave Schrader, I wouldn't be married to such a remarkable woman. So, yeah.
True. Do you, now, be honest. Do you still have to, sign autographs for Winnie every now and again?
Just for her high school girlfriends.
Okay, cool.
That's a little shot because everybody's always saying I've got a child bride like Art Bell. I've got my wife is about 15 years younger than I am. I'm a lucky, lucky man.
God bless you. God bless you. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the paranormal here, my friend, because, you were saying that in this episode, this first episode of the Holzer Files, everybody saw you got knocked over, but there was actually a secondary incident that didn't make it onto the show.
Yeah. All right. So here we go. This did not make the episode, and you'll understand why in a few minutes. This is the first day of filming, and I was speaking with one of the tour guides, Jokey, and I wish her interview would have made the episode, but unfortunately, with what happened to me, it kind of derailed things. But we were talking. We were up in that theater where I captured later on during the investigation some interesting video of something on my SLS camera. But while we were up there talking to Jokey, she was telling us about the spirits and that there is a male spirit in this area and that he does not like men who think they're in authority or in charge. So now prior to this, the directors and producers are telling me, Dave, if you notice anything, we've got this room wired. We're filming you. We've got stationary cameras. If you see or experience anything, please let us know. So as we're sitting there, I'm trying to think up a way, well, how can I be respectful but seem like I'm challenging the authority of the spirit? Because I do think it's important to be respectful to these spirits as well, but come off kind of authoritative to see if I can get this spirit to engage me, Dave. And as I'm thinking this, all of a sudden I kind of buckle at the knee and I stand back up and I look out the window where one of the camera guys is standing filming me. And I get this panicked look on my face, and Jokey keeps telling the story, and I'm like, what just happened? And I thought, okay, you know what? Maybe I've got a battery pack on my belt, and the cord hangs down in the back, and it goes up around my waist and up the front of my shirt. Maybe the cord got hooked underneath my pocket on the outside of my jeans and tugged, and that's what I felt. And then I'm like, no, this is definitely a weird sensation. And I've just got this kind of shocked look on my face, and the producers go, Dave, is everything okay? And I'm like, I don't know. And they go, well, did you almost black out? I'm like, no. And they said, well, you look like you were about ready to fall down. I said, yeah, something happened. I don't know. I don't know if I should even say it, especially with Jokey here. And they're like, just Dave, tell us, we need to know. And I was embarrassed. It was humiliating. I felt violated, and I didn't know how else to explain it. And I told him, listen, she said that the male spirit up here does not like men in authority. I began thinking of what I could do to seem like I'm challenging this ghost with my authority. And Dave, I got to tell you, this is the strangest thing that's ever happened to me. And I'm pitting that up against getting knocked on my ass by a ghost later on in the investigation. Something yanked my underwear down from inside my pants. So my underwear were down around the bottom of my butt. And they're like, get out of here. I'm like, I'm serious. And I go, Shane, come here. And I walk around the corner out of view. And I unlash my pants and I lift my hands up so my pants hit the floor. But that way you could see I wasn't pulling anything down. And there is my pants hit the ground and my underwear is pulled underneath my buttocks. And I turn over my shoulder, and the camera guy's over my shoulder filming my bare butt, which is another reason why I don't think it made it. No TV show is ready for that. But it was very violating. It was embarrassing. It was humiliating. And I'm like, I don't even know what just happened. And they're like, well, is there any, we're a guy, is it old underwear? Did you blow out the waistband and it fell? I'm like, no, these are brand new underwear. And as a matter of fact, I'd walked up and down the stairs all night and continued to do so after this happened. And they never went down. Something tugged them from the bottom and pulled them down. I don't have any other way to explain it other than it was very embarrassing and violating. And then later on to get knocked on my butt during the full investigation it was very strange.
You had a Hansel moment from Zoolander. That's what you had.
Yes. Yeah. It was completely unexpected. And like I said, 13 years of investigating, nothing like that had ever happened to me. And I thought after that, I'm like, well, it's never going to make the episode. And they said, well, I don't know how we could put it in the episode because of, there's no way to prove it, it's weird, but we believe you. I mean, we watched you buckle and we watched how weird it looked, but so to their credit, they didn't, and that would have been a great moment to really kind of be an embarrassing moment for me and be a awkward situation. But to their credit, they didn't show it because it is one that doesn't, is not believable looking, or not even that. It's how do you prove that your underwear weren't already pulled down? So I gave them credit for the fact that they stood away from showing that, but they tried to figure out a way to do it that would seem that could show the story, show how humiliated and embarrassed I was by it, and let us know that, boy, straight out of the chute, we were something was letting me know it was there.
We have Hansel Schrader on Spaced Out Radio tonight talking about the Holzer files. I got a question from Mark in our YouTube chat room, and he is asking, why isn't Hans Holzer, more respected in the paranormal field?
Well, it depends on who you're talking to. It's real easy to dismiss a guy who's dead and say he was a fake and a fraud and a liar. And there are many people who completely are fascinated and love the guy for the work that he did. And he made it mainstream at a time that it wasn't that big. I remember seeing the Hans Holzer's books on my mom's shelf and my aunt's shelf growing up. They were very open to the paranormal. And, I remember seeing him on In Search Of. And I have a newfound respect for people that don't know about the Holzer files on the Travel Channel. The family allowed us to re-examine his old case files, and this guy documented everything. unbelievable copious notes. Plus, then he video or audio recorded and did photographs everywhere. So we've got all of these great videos, audios, photographs, and we play them throughout the episode of his original story there. And, it's really easy for people now to say, oh, yeah, Hans Holzer said this. Well, that wasn't what the real story was. But what they forget is he wrote this book 40 years ago. And Dave, what he was going off of was the history given to him by and I'm using air quotes, the historians. So when they're telling him, oh, yeah, Dave Scott was murdered here with a lead pipe by Professor Mustard in the library, he's going off the history he's given. And what's funny is as you read the notes, he and Ethel Myers or Sybil Leek would investigate a location. They would get activity, but it didn't seem to match up with the history. Sometimes he'd try to put the round peg into the square hole, and he'd be unsatisfied with it. He's like, we're getting activity. It just doesn't seem to be measuring up. But he reported what he was told in these books. And years later, when it came to light what really happened there, he took the heat. Well, he didn't have Google. He didn't have all the access that we did 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago when he was investigating these. He went off of who was believed to be the experts on these stories, the people that lived there, the people that worked there, and the people that had the experiences and were the on-site historians. What he didn't realize was at the time that some of them just wanted attention and would make up stories to get him there so that he'd give the stamp that it was haunted and business would boom. But he wasn't willing to do that all the time. He wasn't willing to give the stamp that it's haunted because it didn't add up. The stories didn't add up. The histories didn't add up. But for the entertainment of his books, he would share the stories as they were told to him.
All right, let's go to Marty's question on Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio. He's asking, Dave, what is it like working with your two sidekicks on the Holzer Files, Cindy and Shane?
I love both of these two. They've become like a brother and sister to me. I've always been skeptical of mediums. You really have to impress me. Cindy, to me, is the real deal. I see her go into these sites, and I know it's hard to believe. She really does not know where we're going. Well, Dave, how can you say that? You're flying into New York, and yeah, but we might not. We may fly into New Jersey and then drive over to Philadelphia to do the investigation. So if she thinks, oh, we're going to Jersey, and she looks up haunted places in New Jersey, which there's 1,000 of them, she doesn't know which ones. But then we take her to a different state, and that's where we investigate. We cover as many of the signs and any of the history that might be outlined there so that she would know in advance. We're very cautious. And I've watched her go in, start picking up on things, and I'm reading through Hans Holzer's original files, and she's hitting details that are unbelievable. And then sometimes she hits stuff that makes absolutely no sense to me and makes me start to question the whole thing until we start digging deeper. And she'll say, oh, I'm picking up Eloise. Eloise is here, and she's so upset. And there's no notes of an Eloise in the history. There's no notes of the Eloise in Hans's notes. But 2 days later, when I'm investigating and talking to one of the historians, I go, by the way, Dave Scott, are you familiar with anybody named Eloise? And I'm not asked to ask these questions. They hired me to do what I do, ask questions, investigate. And all of a sudden, historian Dave Scott goes, we never really tell this story, but this happened. And, she was, Eloise was a grandmother trapped under the stairs by the bookcase that fell on her and killed her. But we never really talk about that. How did she come up with this? It's not anywhere. It's not in print, not in the books, not on the internet. She had no clue who this guy was. He had no clue who she was. And here we uncover this part of the story. And we find out that this may be the ghost that we're dealing with, not who we came thinking we were going to experience. So Cindy has been a real delight to work with and blows me away every episode. Shane is great. He is so fun to work with. He is such a great human element of our program. And, he takes a lot of heat because he seems so jumpy. Well, he's only jumpy on rare occasions when something really weird happens. And anybody watching that tells me that if I put them in a dark room, they're not going to be unnerved when something grabs at them or moans near them or whispers their name is full of malarkey. Everybody's going to jump and act weird. And I'm the investigator. I'm the one that does all the questioning of the guests and the experiencers and the historians. So I'm kind of your link to that history. Alexandra is the link to her father and his history. Gabe Roth, our investigator and our researcher, is the link to the information. And Cindy is our link to the other side. Shane plays such an important role because he is the link to the audience. He's all of the people watching. He's the reality of the reality show because his reactions are priceless and they're human and they're exactly what most of us would do in these same situations.
Amazing. And the psychic mediums out there, I mean, the ones who are quality, the ones who are just able to pull something right off of their head and it matches just verbatim. You often wonder, how the heck are they getting this information? Do you still have those questions when working with Cindy?
Oh, certainly. And I ask her, and you got to give her credit. Listen, we're standing in a cemetery at the gravesite of this person. She's got spirits from all these other, how does she cut through that and get right there? And sometimes it's very hard for her because so many spirits are tugging at her to try to get a story out and she has to keep focusing, and it can be so distracting and wearing. I love Cindy. We don't spend any real time together because they don't want me to accidentally slip and say something in front of her. Shane isn't with her. Shane and I hang out together all the time. So we're always kept separate from one another, from Cindy, so that we don't tip our hat to anything she picks up on. But watching what she does, here's the deal. Is she picking up from some etheric file cabinet? Is she picking up on trace memory? Or is she picking up on dead people telling her these things? Any way you look at it, it's phenomenal. And I'm so jealous of that ability. And Shane and I have had some experiences at a few locations that they didn't end up airing because although it was cool and it was a great moment for Shane and I, it didn't advance the story. But in one of the episodes, Shane and I felt like we were drowning in paranormal activity. And I stopped and I turned to Cindy and I said, how the beep can you live like this every day? Because this 3-minute thing that just happened to us, I feel so overwhelmed and tired from it. I can't imagine being in that zone all the time. I give her a lot of credit.
All right, let's go to our SOR Space Travelers Club. I love this question by Joey. He is asking, Dave, when you travel off the paranormal clock in your personal life and you find yourself at a location that coincidentally has ghost folklore attached to it, can you ignore it, or does the paranormal investigator in you cause you to act otherwise?
Oh, Darkness Dave is always on call. That part of me loves to find these places. As a matter of fact, if we go on vacation someplace with no intention of finding the paranormal, it seems to find me. Somebody will inadvertently, I'll be walking through the lobby and I'll hear somebody telling a ghost story and I stop and listen. Where did this happen? And, I'm in that, or I notice in the lobby there's ghost tours in town and I'm like, God, let's go tonight. There's nothing to do. We're in town. Let's go on this ghost tour and history tour. I love and I'm fascinated by history. So I find myself in these situations all the time because it's a great way to learn. And truthfully, Dave, I've said this before on the air. I believe this is so true. If we could find a way to tie ghost stories and history together in school, kids would do so much better because it is so fascinating to learn history. I've been in places where George Washington stood. I've been in places where Aaron Burr and Alexander Hamilton, where Benjamin Franklin, Abraham Lincoln. I'm in these places and I'm part of that story now. And holy Christmas, that's so amazing to me. And I love experiencing that with my kids sometimes because it was something that we might have overlooked, but now they have a real fascination with it because they're now part of that story.
All right, let's get to Susan's question as we got about 4 minutes here before we got to go to break at the top of the hour. Dave Schrader is our guest tonight. Susan in YouTube is asking, Dave, what is your scariest paranormal experience to date?
That's always a tough question. And it's not because I'm one of those macho morons who claims nothing scares him. I'm human like anybody else. And if something unnerves me. It gets to me. But, most of the times, Dave, I'm going to these locations expecting something, so I don't get terrified. Now, with that said, I did an episode of Ghost Adventures, and I think it was their first or second season at Rolling Hills Sanitarium in New York. And I'd been there before and had weird experiences. And they said, "Hey, Dave, would you consider being a guest investigator?" And it was one of the first times they ever allowed a guest investigator in. And I'm like, sure. So they locked me in the van outside while they went in and investigated at night. It's only the three of the guys at the time, Zach, Nick, and Aaron. And after about 2 hours, they radio to me that they're going to let me in, and I have to go, and they have to unlock the door and let me into the building. And then they shut the door outside and lock it, and everybody leaves again. And they're so excited. They're like three little brothers, and they're so excited. And they're, oh, my God, this happened and that happened and this. And I'm thinking, oh, are you guys pumping this up? This is crazy. This can't be true. I've been here before. I've had experiences, but this is over the level of experiences. We go up to the top floor and we're standing there and they're telling me these stories. And all of a sudden, from one end of the hall to the other, you can hear footsteps running above us. And I said, "Who's on the next floor?" And Zach said, "Dave, we are the last floor. That's the roof." And I said, "Are you kidding me?" And then we hear this wailing noise come from the end of the hall. It sounds like and it turns into this woman screaming. I've got Zach standing in front of me. I've got Aaron standing to my right with the camera on his shoulder. I've got Nick to my left and just behind me with the camera on his shoulder. As I pivot to look, over Nick's shoulder, there is this shock white face. It looked like Pazuzu from The Exorcist. And as he starts to turn his head, it folds back like it's on a hinge, folds back and goes over his shoulder. That was one of the most unnerving and terrifying moments I've ever had, seeing that. And then that whole night we just spent chasing things around and shadow figures that we captured on video and photographs. It was really astounding. But that was, seeing that white face over his shoulder terrified me.
I don't blame you. Did you run out? What was the reaction?
Well, we kept investigating. I'm there for that purpose. I put myself in there for this. I want to see, I want to experience, I want this to be more than just folklore and legend. And that's why I go. I want to see this. I want to be a part of this.
So when you're out there and you're having those type of experiences, what's going on through your own mind as this is happening? Yes, it's freaky. Yes, you don't know how to react, but you're a veteran guy. Do you still get that spooked feeling, that scared feeling that somebody else who may not have experienced something, do you still get that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the thrill of it. Sometimes I feel bad because we'll do these big events and people will come running up to me and they're like, "Dave, listen." And they play back their EVP and you hear this, "Get out." And I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And they're like, "No, it's a voice saying get out." And I'm so jaded to it because I've caught 1,000 voices. So when something reignites me and makes me feel alive again because it's a newer experience, it's something different than anything else I've had before, that excites me and terrifies me all at the same time. But yeah, I've been in situations where I'm real uncomfortable. And I love that because that's what I want.
That's what we're all seeking, isn't it? Is that thrill, because it's that 2 or 3 seconds that can change your entire life when something paranormal happens.
Yes, it is. And that's, again, those are the golden moments, and I live for them.
Dave Schrader is with us tonight on Spaced Out Radio, the host of Darkness Radio, as well as one of the stars on the Holzer Files. We have Dave for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio, going into hour number 3. We'll follow that up with the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave. Lots of Daves happening. We also got a major question from Barther. We'll lead with that to kick off the third hour of Spaced Out Radio, coming up right after this.
we're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/spacedoutradio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
I'm feeling a little spicy tonight. What to do? What to do?
Why not get Bumblefuck?
4 million Scoville units of pure hard rock. Bumblefoot hot sauces come in 3 flavors. The burning Bumble. Tone it down a bit with Bumblicious and throw the sauce on everything.
Spice it up. Bumble me, baby. Bumblefoot hot sauce. Get it today at kajans.com.
The SOR Vault is open for business, and do we have some cool swag for you to pick up? All you have to do is head over to our website and click on the SOR Vault. You have a variety of cool logos to choose from, and put them on anything you want. T-shirts, hoodies, hats, coffee mugs, you name it, we can get it to you. So do your shopping by supporting the store you love. Get your Spaced Out Radio swag at the SOR Vault today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thorne, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Looking for creative ways to get your company out in the public? How about advertising on Spaced Out Radio? Our sales department is waiting to hear from you, and we can work around any budget. From commercial spots to banners to special promotions, there are many opportunities to get your name and product out to our SOR listeners. For a price guide and more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
The party is always on at the Moose Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is where you want to be when visiting Canada's West Coast. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose cranks up the rock while serving some of the best rated food in the city. The menu starts at $6.95. Why party anywhere else in Vancouver when the Moose is right there? Get your horns up and rock with the Moose, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hello everyone, this is Ryan Stacy from the Experiencer Support Association, otherwise known as TESSA. We're glad to team up with Spaced Out Radio to help investigate your experiences on the SOR Sightlines Report. Together, we'll investigate the strange sightings and occurrences you've had. We're looking for answers just like you. So fill out a Sightlines Report on the Spaced Out Radio website and let's figure out what's going on together.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
For the price of 1 cup of coffee a month, you can become an SOR Space Traveler. The Space Travelers Club is a place where you can interact with other listeners, either live during the show or on our great forum. We want your stories, pictures, comments, and ideas. You'll get live video streams, exclusive content, and be a part of our newsletter. Stay in touch with everything SOR. The Space Travelers Club is just $5 a month at spacedoutradio.com.
We are scouring the world for the most intriguing stories of your day. Take the time to read up on the SOR Newswire, where our team, led by Captain Shirk, will deliver to you some of the best paranormal and supernatural news, along with some stories that will blow your mind from the weird to the wacky. It's the news outside the news that piques interest, and that's what we're looking to deliver to you. The SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey everyone, I'm John Edwards.
And I'm Stacey Edwards. Together we're taking over Saturday nights on Spaced Out Radio, where we're going to bring our own experiences of the paranormal and talk to the best people we can find to help bring you answers to your strange tales.
We're here to entertain your need for weekend woo! So tune us in at spacedoutradio.com starting at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, where we can all get a little spooky together.
Spaced Out Saturday nights right here at spacedoutradio.com.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
Hey, space travelers, this is John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. If you know anything about our website, you know we like to do things a little differently. We're not some faceless organization collecting money for a nebulous cause. Our donor dollars go directly toward life-improving items. Then we give those items directly to an underdog who needs it most. To become a donor with Spaced Out Radio's official charity, Chive Charities, just go to chivecharities.org/donate.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
We're kicking off hour number 3 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to give a shout-out to everybody listening in on our terrestrial affiliates across the continent and on the digital side on TalkStream Live and Revolution Radio. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club into Subception, whatever it's pronounced. That's the password. The Clam sets it each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. What's the password for? Exactly. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including Rockin' Out to Bumblefoot, reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire, and much more. And, of course, follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. For the final time tonight, we introduce from the television series The Holzer Files, Dave Schrader. You may know him as the former host of Midnight in the Desert, former host on Coast to Coast AM, and, of course, his ever-popular Darkness Radio. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to join us tonight.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. I appreciate it.
Now, we have a mutual friend on a website called LGAB named Barther.
Yes.
So he is asking, on a scale of 9 to 10, how great is the Bart?
I would say he's, closer to about a 12.5.
Now, the question is, nobody knows what he looks like. Nobody knows what he sounds like. I have a feeling he sounds like a garden gnome or something like that. I haven't been able to figure it out.
I know things I shouldn't know. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I know.
He's a good man. He's been a great support to me behind the scenes on Midnight in the Desert and Darkness Radio, and has been a great sounding board on a lot of things. So I will say this: when you think I'm joking when I say he's a 12 on a scale of 9 to 10, he's been a really good guy who I do give a lot of credit to, and I appreciate the work and constructive criticism and otherwise that he's given to me over the time.
Yeah, he's helped me out with the YouTube side, and I got to say thank you to Bart as well, because, a lot of people don't understand how technical this is. Like, you have a professional studio, I have a professional studio, and I'm just a voice, man. I don't know if you're very technical, but I am not. So when I can get people of that quality helping me out, I tell you, it really helps out what we're trying to accomplish here.
Yeah, he's a real good go-to guy for this kind of stuff. So, thank you from the two Daves, Barth.
Absolutely, King Barther, we bow to thee.
You say Barth? That reminds me of the dog character from Spaceballs.
Oh, that's
loyal,
nice.
Loving, and John Candy-like.
Smooth off the tongue as well. Renee wants to know, when it comes to the Devil's Tower, are you on Team Stump? Or are you on Team Rock?
I guess I'm out of this loop. I don't know what you're referring to.
Devil's Tower, Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Right. Yeah.
Is it a tree stump? Or is it just a volcanic rock?
No, I think it's actually the top of a giant rock alien, and we're just seeing what he's willing to show us.
Oh, my goodness. We got to add a third part on there. A third part.
Something to consider.
Well, I wasn't prepared for that one. I wasn't prepared.
I don't like to play and color inside the lines, Dave.
No, absolutely. Susan is asking. She goes, I had to move away from a house with demons after 15 years of terror. It told my youngest son it was getting him next. They did not follow us. Do they ever follow you home, Dave?
It's hard to say, right? I get a lot of that question. I don't know, because it's not like I can see them and see the trail from where they came. I don't know if it's a spirit from the location I've come from, or is it attracted to the fact that it can see and sense or knows that I'm interested in the supernatural, and it's trying to make its presence known to me? So it's a chicken or the egg kind of thing. I've had experiences after I've come back from haunted locations. I have a hard time believing they're going to follow me, but who knows? I have no real definitive way to say either way. Believe it or not, I am a skeptic. I'm a skeptical believer. I don't even I don't jump always to the paranormal in my own experiences. It takes me a long time to wrap my head around when I have a moment and what it really meant, what really took place. Can I de-evolve it and make sense of it in a more logical manner, or does it kind of defy any sense of answers? I really do try to break it down that way.
Makes sense. Absolutely makes sense. You said earlier that and this one you didn't really go into detail with, but I am kind of curious as someone who's seen Sasquatch as well. What was your encounter like?
Well, I was very young. It was between 10 to 12 years old. I wish I could remember. I just turned 52, so we're talking 40 years ago. I was in Foley, Alabama. My grandparents, I'm sorry for the clinking noise. I've got a lozenge. My throat's getting a little dry. My grandparents owned 40 acres in Foley, Alabama. There was only about 10 of the acres that were livable. The rest was just thickly wooded area. And my grandparents and my uncles and dad used to go out hunting back in the woods. And my cousin and I would go down and fish in the pond. And you'd hear things moving around out there all the time. But this one specific day, my cousin Rob, who was about 2 years younger than me, and we were standing there fishing, and we could hear just this something big walking through the woods towards us. And it was on the other side of the pond. And there were these high hedges that were maybe 5-6 feet tall maybe even a little taller. And I just saw this hairy hand go up over the top of the bush, and it looked like Chewbacca's hand. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
So it had that long hair that went over the top of the fingers instead of it just being like at wrist. It's not like he's wearing a wool sweater. It's like it's just long hair. It pushed down the bush, and I could see him from about upper part of top lip to the crown of his head. And it was this large, dark, blackish gray mane with a dark inset face. And it looked at us, and time stood still. I just slowly turned to my cousin and looked at him, and we both had this exchange of no words, just looking at each other like, what are we seeing? And I turned back, and we could still see this thing staring at us. And it looked like a big, hairy monster. I turned, my cousin and I ran up, we Scooby-Dooed it up to the house, half expecting to get there and find out it was one of our dads in a costume trying to scare us. But we get into the house, both of our dads are sitting there at the table with our uncles and our grandfather, and everybody's having coffee and smoking cigarettes, and we're blowing up about it. Well, my grandpa, my dad, and my uncle all grab the rifles off the wall, and they go out there because they don't know, is it some homeless person or some kind of vagrant living out in the woods? They don't know what they're in for. They went charging out there, couldn't find anything. But it unnerved me, and it took me, I think I didn't go out by that pond again for the rest of that trip. And we were there for another, week. And I loved fishing in that pond and hanging out down there. That really unnerved me. But that was my one real moment. So it was not extremely close. I was maybe 50 yards away from it. But what I saw looked very, very Wookiee-like, I guess is the safest way to say it.
No kidding. Dave, you've interviewed some of the top researchers in Sasquatch research here. You've interviewed everybody from Jeff Meldrum and Melva Ketchum, David Paulides, to investigators who are running around the bushes every chance they get to try and find this. There's a spiritual aspect to this. There's a supernatural aspect. There is a scientific aspect to this. Do you think we'll ever see the day where these groups come together to try and actually solve what this creature is, rather than being so definitive in their own ways that they refuse to work together?
No, and that's why all these stories of how the aliens will finally come to us when we all come together, I find the biggest load of malarkey. Aliens are either the biggest dicks on the planet because they lay out this unachievable goal. If they've been around long enough, they know we're never going to get along. We're never going to get to this elevation place without a nudge. That nudge is letting us all see you at the same time. Then we become a planet that's united in one thing, fear, right? So then we're going to do it, and we'll come together and experience this moment. But with Bigfoot and Bigfoot ghost research, alien research, opposing sides are ridiculous to me. Everybody's fighting for the same golden key to a palace that may or may not exist. And instead of working together, it's easier to point fingers because, well, my version of religion is right, yours is not. Mm-hmm. My version of politics is right, yours is not. My version of what a Bigfoot is right. And now there's all these new elements to Bigfoot, right? Is it a cryptid? Is it a mysterious creature that's yet to be discovered? Is it an interdimensional creature? Is it the ghost of a creature that used to live here? Is it an alien? You have so many different points coming in, and science wants to be able to pigeonhole something and say this is what it is. So you've got guys like Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum who are fantastic. They're great speakers, but they're focused on the science and the zoological aspects. You've got guys like Lauren Coleman who straddle both sides of that. They want the zoological aspects. They want to talk about the weird and the high woo and high strangeness elements. Then you've got people on the ghost side who are weighing in on their perceptions of this. And I don't think we'll ever come together. I wish we could. I think there's a lot of great protocols that could be put in play to get these kind of moments looked at. But then you start going on the conspiratorial trail, right? Is why would the government hide this from us? Are we such a weak-minded society that they can't admit that Bigfoot exists? Well, because we can't control him. And if he is abducting, well, you can't control mountain lions. You can't control coyotes, and they're killing people in the woods too. It's just, you go out in nature, you got to understand, you might come in face to face with a grizzly. Just start treating us like adults. I think we're starting to see that with aliens and UFOs. I think we might start being on that cusp of disclosure. I don't think they'll ever go back in time and admit that Roswell and Rendlesham and all this is real. I think if they do it, it's going to start now, and it'll be something like, oh, now we see these things. Now, yes, we believe in the last 5 years, but I don't think we'll ever get a full disclosure going back.
No, I don't think so either. And for people who have seen Sasquatch or had those close encounters, we tend to, easily believe what has happened to us. And we think that everybody should believe us. In your opinion, from all the people you have interviewed, how important is the experience comparatively to the scientific data that obviously does not support what is happening to people? Whether it's viewing Bigfoot, Dogman, being attacked by aliens, like Barther, getting anal probe like Whitley, it could be anything.
It's impossible. Every aspect is important unto itself, right? Each part is part of a bigger whole. You have to have personal experiences that drive the theories, that drive the testing, that drive the proof. 200 years ago, the idea that we're going to the moon would sound lunatic. We're never going to get there. I think apes were really only discovered, I think it was within the last 150 years. When you think about that, 150 years ago. So when our forefathers founded our country, the concept of great apes was ridiculous. It was a myth, but yet they existed, and we found them, and we proved it. Could these creatures exist? Could Bigfoot exist? And we're just not able to. Sure. What if they're an intelligent species that works like a military unit? They have sentries. They post. They see us coming. They back up. They're always staying out of view. And once in a while you catch the rogue guy who had to go down to the watering hole to bring back a skin of water for the family. I don't know what's happening in most of these situations, but I think that you have to examine all of it. The science of what it could be, the theories of how we find that, the personal experiences. And when you have police and lawyers and moms and doctors and politicians that are seeing and witnessing aliens, UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, you can't just dismiss it summarily because it doesn't fit your paradigm. Why are we experiencing them? That is, I think, where we need to go a little deeper in those moments. And I think if we could just get rid of the stigma of exploration, we could make some amazing breakthroughs.
Do you think we need the government's hand for this? When it comes to UFOs, everybody thinks we need the president of the United States to make the announcement. Or when it comes to cryptids, that we need the scientific people such as Dr. Jeffrey Meldrum to have that body. Do we need that type of hardcore evidence, or can we find it on our own?
Well, we have found it on our own, but, we're not able to take it to the next level. If I go out and I see a Bigfoot with Dave Scott in Canada, it's still just two guys that host paranormal radio shows that had an experience. So, of course, it behooves them to say they saw Bigfoot because that'll get their listeners all excited. So there's still that easy dismissal. You kind of need somebody that's outside of our realm in order to confirm this is real. You'd like to think that Dave Scott and Dave Schrader's word is good enough. But when the president or the prime minister or the governor of your state steps forward and says, yes, we had a UFO encounter, aliens have been in contact with us, that's going to take it to a believable level. And, I don't want to get political, but you can see that because politicians will say one thing, and whether there's any truth behind it or not, when they say it, half the population follows along with them. And then if they can actually provide the proof that what they've said is true, the rest will follow. And you're going to need people in those elevated positions to open that Pandora's box, expose what's inside of it, and then we all go through the door together.
All right. So do you believe then that society is ready for, say, aliens? That's a big question.
Yeah.
I wrote a blog about this a couple weeks ago saying, the way people have panicked over what is happening right now by running the rampant to go wipe out the stores full of toilet paper, I could just imagine how much Grey Poupon and Metamucil will go disappearing once the aliens come.
Right. There's the great memes. This is why aliens don't show us, or why the government doesn't admit to it, because look at the way we react. However, if you look at it, a lot of the ways we react to things are very complacent as well. There are some things that have happened that you think we would be much more up in arms about that we're not. Aliens, I don't think at this point there's really anybody on the planet Earth that would be too overly surprised that aliens exist. It's in the way that you deliver it, right? If I have Dave Scott over to dinner tonight and introduce him to all my friends, and he's great and engaging and fun, and everybody, wow, he was a great guest to have at dinner tonight. Well, he murdered 5 people in cold blood and ate their flesh. Well, whoa. What? It's in the way you present the story. It's in the way that it's, if they come out and they say, hey, we are being visited by aliens, they are abducting us, and we have no way to stop them. Yeah, you're going to start seeing some highly reactive people. If you say, yes, we are in contact with an alien species, this is exciting, you're going to have some that overreact because they're going to believe in every Hollywood hype. And you're going to have a lot of us that are just excited for the opportunity to expand our universe and learn new things. Every new discovery has naysayers. I laugh about the fact that there was the doctor who said that ulcers are not just created by stress, but by an actual bacteria. And he was laughed out of symposiums, laughed out of it. And what happens? 3 years later, his exact hypothesis and theory is proven 100% correct. Did anybody go back and give this guy money? Did anybody go? No. They treated him like crap. He was a pariah, but we found out the truth was there all along. So I think we're at the stage, yes, we are elevated enough that we can, depending on how it's couched, brought to our attention. Now, if our president comes out and is threatening towards these beings or making it seem like they're a threat, yes, it'll cause more of a dismay. But I think if we approach it in an enlightened way, I think the world is ready for these exchanges and changes.
Well, we're going to end that on an agree to disagree, because I just don't think they're ready. And that's my personal opinion. I think that as much as I would love to say that, a lot of people out there are waiting for this and wanting it to happen, and gosh darn it, Mr. President or Mrs. President in the future, whomever it may be, just give us the keys to the UFOs at Area 51. I just don't think that most people are with it. But nonetheless, we only got about 90 seconds left with you tonight, my friend. And I want to say thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. And I'd love for you to take the time to tell everybody where you can find your podcasts, where they could find the Holzer Files, because that's what you do for a living, and you're one of the best.
Well, thank you, Dave, and it's truly been a pleasure, as I said, to be a part of your show. All the information about me and the work I do is at darknessradio.com. You can find it there. My show's Darkness Radio every Saturday and Sunday, True Crime Tuesday every Tuesday. You can find information. For those of you that have iPhones or Androids, go to your Google Play or iTunes store and get the free Darkness Radio app, and you can take our show along with you and listen anywhere. I will be on. There's a cool event that's taking place. Go to live.thedarkzone.tv. That's live.thedarkzone.tv. There's a week-long event that's going to be taking place at the Conjuring House, an experiment in terror. You're going to get really kind of cool access to the actual Conjuring House and the family that lives there and be a part of it for $20. I'll be a part of it on the 13th, doing a little interview and popping in, but I think it's going to be a really cool situation. So I encourage your listeners to go check that out as well. Thank you to Barther for connecting us this way. Thank you to Spook Cat for the support and love all the time. And thank you, Dave Scott, for your ability to host a great show and make this fun and easy for me to be a part of. So thank you for doing this and having me on.
What a pleasure. And to you and your beautiful wife, Winnie, and Tim, for what you guys do. Hey, people like me, man, we can, we always try and learn from those who are above us. And I've learned a lot from you and listening to you over the years. And it's a pleasure to finally get an opportunity to chat. And hey, you ever want to come investigate British Columbia, the door is open.
We'll do it. I'll visit you. You visit me. We'll get you on Darkness Radio here soon, and I'm willing and more than happy to come back and visit with you anytime on Spaced Out Radio. So thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Dave Schrader, everybody. What a treat for all of us tonight. Coming up next, we have the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Day. We continue the roll right after this.
Hey, Spaced Out Radio fans! It's John Resig, founder of the Chive and Chive Charities. Our goal is to make the life of veterans, first responders, and those with rare medical conditions 10% happier. We do this by donating one grant item, ranging from vans to therapy programs to prosthetic limbs, to those who need it most. To contribute to Spaced Out Radio's official charity, head over to chivecharities.org and become a donor today.
Need that weekend supernatural fix? Look no further than Spaced Out Saturday right here at spacedoutradio.com. I'm Stacey Edwards.
And I'm John Edwards. Each Saturday night, Stacey and I are going to bring you the best in paranormal, cryptids, UFOs, you name it, and we're going there.
It's all about the experience and to share the knowledge with all of you.
So tune us in every Saturday night on Spaced Out Saturdays, starting at 9:06 p.m. Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Cold drinks, great food, and the best music in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is the place to be, open until 2 a.m. nightly. Everything on the menu starts at just $6.95. Who serves food that cheap anymore? At the Moose, you'll never know who you'll run into. Rock stars, actors, athletes. It's the place everyone wants to be. So join us at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hey everybody, the SOR Space Travelers is open. For just $5 a month, you can hang out with Dave and our crew privately in our members-only section. With your signing, you'll receive newsletters on what's going on with Spaced Out Radio. You'll have direct contact with the host during the show in our chat, live streaming videos, and a great forum for your posts and more. Become a space traveler now at spacedoutradio.com.
If you like it hot, real hot, then heat up your meals with Bumblefoot hot sauce.
Get your Bumblefoot hot sauce today. The sauce, Bumblicious, and the 4 million Scoville unit Bumble. We're going in hot, real hot, coming out even hotter.
Keep the milk nearby and tantalize your taste buds tonight.
Bumblefoot hot sauce, available now at kajans.com.
At spacedoutradio.com, we are keeping you up to date on all the news with the SOR Newswire. Captain Shirk leads the team that is bringing you the news of the day and exclusive stories on everything paranormal and supernatural. It's free to read, it's updated daily, and it's right there for you. The SOR Newswire is a one-stop shop for the news of the day. Check it out at spacedoutradio.com today.
You wanted new SOR gear, and now you can have it. The SOR Vault is fully stocked with t-shirts, hats, hoodies, mugs, and everything in between with great logos for you to choose from. So head on over to spacedoutradio.com, click on the SOR Vault, and go shopping. Pricing is quite affordable, and you can look good representing your favorite show. So go to our website and pick up your new SOR wear at the SOR Vault today.
We all know on Spaced Out Radio we love a good beard and mustache, so why not take care of your facial hair with Mighty Moose Beard Oil? Made in Canada, we're taking care of beards and stashes around the world. We use 100% natural ingredients with our oils and balms to make your whiskers feel silky smooth. Use promo code SOR2019 at MightyMooseBeard.com today.
Are you looking for great advertising value for your company? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. We have a multitude of places to get your name out there, including commercial ads during the show, special promotions, and banners on our website. Our audience is proven to support the companies that support our show. We can make your budget work for you. For more information, please contact us at sales@spacedoutradio.com.
Hi there, this is the paranormal lawyer Michael W. Hall. I'd like to invite you to listen in each Sunday night where we're going to open up your eyes to everything strange and paranormal. I will be hosting some great guests with topics that affect us all, such as UFOs, ghosts, and everything paranormal. Let's learn together on Spaced Out Radio Sunday with myself, Michael W. Hall, the paranormal lawyer at spacedoutradio.com.
We're adding to the entertainment online for Spaced Out Radio. I'm Amber Beckrud, and I want to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check out Cryptid Tales, where I will take you on a journey into some of the strangest legends and lore from around the world, relaying the stories to you of the strange creatures and experiences that people have had throughout time. You can find Cryptid Tales at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, don't forget to check out our free archives and leave a comment. See you there.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Hello, space travelers. It's me again, Carl. Don't forget to join the Space Travelers Club for just $5 a month, and follow Spaced Out Radio on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio. Our Instagram, Dave Scott SOR. Our Facebook page is Spaced Out Radio Show. Our archives are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Come woo it up with Spaced Out Radio today. Bye!
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. I want to remind all of you that if you've missed most of this show or others, you can check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and much more. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio for the show, and my personal handle at Dave Scott SOR. Speaking of the news, let's get to it. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes just ones that make you scratch your head. All right. Oh, you know, any fan or any friend of Jim Bakker is a friend of ours around here, right? Yeah. Well, American evangelist Dr. Dennis Lindsay was telling televangelist Jim Bakker a little while ago, and I thank Derek on Twitter for this story, about who he believes really built Stonehenge. How about giants created by Satan? Televangelist Jim Bakker and Dr. Lindsay and they were discussing the new book by Lindsay, who is the president of Christ of the Nations Institute, an interdenominational Christian Bible college in Texas. He is also an author, and in his new book, which attempts to answer the century-old questions, who built Stonehenge and for what purpose? Well, Dr. Lindsay believes that old Beelzebub himself created these giants to use a tool to destroy Israel. He continued, and I quote, he built his little squatter's hut up there on Temple Mount. You know that temple because he knows what the Bible says about the place. I weaved through why and what is the evidence for giant beings on this earth. We all know about Stonehenge, right? That's just one of the hundreds and hundreds of gigantic places around the world that testify that some sort of supernatural power or giants were involved in its construction. Yeah, personally, I'd really like to hear more about their thoughts on the Aztec temples, the Egyptian pyramids, and of course, could you imagine if this guy was part of the disclosure movement at the White House? I want to know what this guy thinks of aliens. Hey, Carl, make a trip to Texas. Dr. Lindsay needs an investigation, if you know what I mean. On Oregon bicyclists. Oh, I don't know why this story's making me laugh, but Oregon bicyclists have received some bad news. The World Naked Biking Bike Ride has been canceled due to the COVID-19 crisis. The annual June bike ride, which aims to raise awareness for dangerous cyclists, faces on the road while also protesting against society's dependency on oil. Well, it's been altered due to the coronavirus pandemic. However, Portland doesn't have to put its pants on just yet. Nope. According to the website, the collective ride is pivoting to a World Naked Bike Ride Day with no start location, start time, or designated route. With this change in place, this site is now encouraging people to hop on their bikes no matter where they are and pedal around in the buff on June 17th as long as they practice proper social distancing. The decision to modify the yearly event came back in April when organizers announced on their Facebook page the 2020 ride will look vastly different than in previous years. On Portland's official Facebook page for the Naked Ride, those in charge of the event declared June 27th World Naked Bike Ride Day to take place during the Pedalpalooza and a month-long summer event in the city. Just don't get your Franks and beans caught in the chain. We saw how that happened in a zipper. As we've said, people are encouraged to ride naked all day and discouraged from gathering with others. World Naked Bike Ride is not just limited to Oregon. 70 cities all around the world participate in the exhibitionist style of athleticism. Let's head over to New Jersey, where a worker at a cemetery was allegedly trapped for nearly half an hour after a grave collapsed on him while he was measuring it. The unidentified 59-year-old gravedigger was working at Hillside Cemetery when sides of the 8-foot-deep grave caved in, pinning him up into his knees in dirt. They did not utilize any shoring when they were digging the grave, Sergeant Vincent O'Terry said. He just decided to jump, nevertheless. All right, well, he got himself stuck. His pleas for help were heard by co-workers who must have thought there were ghosts around, saying, "Where's Schrader? Where's Schrader in the Holzer files? We got a case here." Anyways, the co-workers then called rescue workers to free him from the situation that was prompted by nightmares from many throughout the U.S. Taphophobia. That's what it's called, being scared of the fear of being buried alive. After being pulled to safety, the cemetery worker was taken to Hackensack University Medical Center. He complained about chest and back pain, and he's said to be doing all right. By the way, Hillside Cemetery, where this happened, happens to be the resting place for Joey Ramone, the lead singer of the Ramones punk band. So that's kind of cool. For the last 2 weekends in a row, community organizer Molly Page has led a group of about 24 volunteers in rural Idaho. Yeah, well, what she's doing? She's got a group that is saving potatoes, as Captain Shirk likes to call them. They're potatoes, Captain, not potatoes. Page got the idea after seeing a photo on social media advertising free potatoes at a farm at Peekaboo, Idaho. The photo showed mountains of spuds that farmers were forced to dump as the coronavirus outbreak upends the economy. The image was one of many in the genre widely shared online in recent weeks, often just juxtaposed with photos of cash-strapped Americans lining up for food assistance to illustrate the dissonance brought on by the pandemic. The underlying economic problem is a basic lesson in supply and demand. Farmers count on businesses and organizations like restaurants, hotels, and schools to buy up huge amounts of their crops, but the outbreak has forced many of those food buyers to close or reduce operations. With that sudden loss of demand, as well as other disruptions to the supply chain, the price of potatoes and other crops have plummeted. For farmers, it's suddenly made more financial sense to slash production and dump existing crops rather than bring them to market. But with more than 30 million Americans out of work and food banks struggling to keep up with the need, the disconnect is nothing short of tragic. Growers have lost their market. Consumers are having difficult times. Whether it's financially or not being able to get food, there are shortages in some markets, Page said. Yeah, well, apparently the group transported potatoes to a number of places around Peekaboo to people in need in nearby towns as well. They dropped thousands upon thousands of potatoes. Apparently they did not take lessons from WKRP. They did not drop them from the helicopter, which is good. Because God is my witness, I thought potatoes could fly. In under 48 hours, the pile had basically dwindled down to nothing. Good job. Feeding people is always a good thing. You know, Tom Cruise gets all the breaks. Now he's in the early stages of development with SpaceX and NASA to become the first actor to star in an action-adventure film shot in space. Yeah. The film will not be a part of the Mission Impossible franchise, where Cruise has performed a number of high-octane stunts involving gravity, including hanging off of a jet plane during takeoff. But the existence of the project was confirmed by NASA Administrator Jim Bridelstein in a tweet which specifies that the project would potentially be filmed at the International Space Station. Situated 250 miles above Earth, the space station carries out research and a number of cutting-edge experiments. The potential issues here lie in the details. If Cruise goes into space, you have to expect that he'd have to receive full training to become an astronaut, which is no easy feat in itself. Following screenings, medical, etc., the actual evaluation process takes approximately 2 years. Though not too long in film terms, Cruise is 57 years old. Albeit seemingly in great shape, the task of being space-ready will be daunting, at least on paper. John Glenn is the oldest astronaut to enter space at 77 years old, but this was after a stellar career in the military and many years of extensive training for spaceflight. With Elon Musk being vocal around his concept of commercializing space flight, it will be interesting to see what happens with the actor and what steps he has to take to qualify, and ergo the viability of spaceflight for the average person. Outside of learning to fly, you would imagine that the physical element of astronaut training through NASA would be mandatory for a space visitor. An excerpt from NASA's official website states the following: as part of the astronaut candidate training program, candidates are required to complete military water survival before beginning their flying syllabus and become scuba qualified to prepare them for spacewalking training. I bet you Cruise does it. He's weird like that. He gets all the breaks. He gets all the fun. Guaranteed. Woody Harrelson's hitman father was twice accused of murder before being convicted of assassinating a judge, according to a new podcast. Charles Harrelson, who is at one time also claimed to have killed John F. Kennedy, was jailed over the 1979 killing of U.S. District Judge John Wood Jr. in San Antonio, Texas. He had already been convicted of the murder of Sam DeGlia Jr. in 1973 and served 5 years for that crime. In 2013, trial lawyer David Berg claimed to have unearthed new evidence that proved Charles was also behind the 1968 slaying of his brother Alan, for which he was acquitted in 1970. Now, according to this new podcast, Son of a Hitman, will speak to actor Woody's two brothers, Brett and Jordan, about their father and his grisly crimes. Professional gambler Charles, who died of a heart attack in 2007 at the age of 69, had been held in Colorado's Supermax federal prison until his death, serving 2 life sentences for the assassination of District Judge Wood. The alleged mastermind behind Wood's death was Jimmy Chagra, who was facing drug charges to be looked at by the victim. Brett said, "It's important for me to expose the magnitude of how corrupt this trial was and how my father, Charles Harrelson, didn't receive a fair trial. My mother and Woody, I can just tell their opinion is they don't want to talk about it because it's personal, private matter." Chief Prosecutor Ray John tells the podcast Charles was an outright psychopath and a cold-blooded killer. Actor Woody, who is now 58, said he first learned of his dad's dubious profession from the first time at the age of 12, years after the man had run away, leaving his mother to raise him and his 2 brothers alone. He is not taking part in the latest podcast, but The Guardian in 2012 said that he heard that his father's name was mentioned as a suspect in the assassination of Wood outside of his home in San Antonio. I'm sitting there thinking that there can't be another Charles V. Harrelson. I mean, that's my dad. It was a wild realization. He says, "I tried for years to get him out, to get him a new trial, just being a son trying to help his dad. Then I spent a couple million beating my head against the wall. Lawyers upon lawyers, and it never happened." After 2 years on the run, Harrelson was arrested and admitted not only to Wood's for-hire murderer, but also claimed he was involved in the assassination of JFK, which he later denied. Despite his dad's occupation and absence in his life, the pair reconciled, which was when the father died of poor health at age 69 in prison in 2007. A mysterious disc-shaped object that washed up on a Florida beach was identified as a fish aggregation device that may have crossed the ocean from West Africa. The nonprofit Friends of Palm Beach, which regularly holds cleanup events at Palm Beach County beaches, said a resident walking the shoreline found the man-sized disc, took photos in the hopes of identifying it. The man sent the photo to Friends of Palm Beach founder Diane Bueller, who determined it was a fish aggregation device. Well, that is nice. Great. We got a fish aggregation device in Florida. Finally, a Florida sheriff's office said a driver reversing out of a bank parking lot accidentally ended up backing into 2 other cars. The Citrus County Sheriff said the driver reversed out of SunTrust Drive, not really paying attention to what they were doing, and dash cam footage captured by the witnesses showed the vehicle cross the median, does a U-turn in reverse, and jumps the curb back into the bank parking lot. Who the hell is driving this thing? A 5-year-old who wanted a Lamborghini? The car, a white Cadillac, ended up on top of 2 cars. No injuries were reported. The cause of the incident under investigation. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages, then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave, in tribute to Dave Schrader and Dave Scott and all the Daves around the world. What makes a great radio host? Let's start off on Twitter with Goddess Michelle. Well, a host who gets the guest I asked for. It also helps if he rocks a wicked beard and has great hair. Oh, let me just take the old chapeau off here, Michelle. Let's get the hair rolling. Oh, if you could see it right now, Radioland, you got to be on our YouTube channel. My hair looks fantastic. A great radio host, according to Marty, needs to show respect for both his or her guests as well as their listening audience. It would also help if they had great hair. I agree with the hair thing. 2 in a row. 2 in a row for the hair. Science Bob, one who has great on-air personality, believes in their gang, and for whom personal integrity and personal trustworthiness is of paramount importance. Joey, who's wearing a new bandana today, by the way, says, in my honest opinion, it is treating a guest like they were entering your home and governing the chat room as one would children, allowing growth and input within informed boundaries. Shanna, A great radio host has passion for the discussion topics, respects the guests, and is patient with them, has a special relationship with listeners, and lets his son have pancakes for dinner. Well, that's definitely not me. Well, it was the other night. Jasper follows up with Shanna, says, and has the mad skills to follow the interviewees and our crazy selves at once. That definitely not me. Graham, passion and a knack for smooth radio show action and rocking and rolling and keeping the beard and understanding the mood of the audience, which Dave, my good friend, does very well, but he could swear a little less if you ask me. That's only on YouTube. It's only on YouTube. Cajun Medicine Man, got to be personal. Classy and sassy, keep the attention of the listener and ensure only your station is played. Plus, a husky voice is an added advantage. I'm out there. Eric with a K, we are his 4th favorite show. He says, quality woo. Of course. Cassandra, someone that doesn't interrupt a guest for the sake of speaking or to sidetrack a story. Yes, indeed. Zion, host has to have a great personality. Well, I got a face for radio, so I guess that means I got a great personality. Gail, only one thing that makes a great radio host? You have to be Dave Scott. Oh, stop it, Captain Shirk. Stop it. I should not have read that one. That's what I get for reading them cold. Paul, research, planning, and personality. What about the voice, Paul? You kind of need to have a voice. All right. Nathan, great energy and great hair. I got one of them. The Axe, John Ackerman. I used to work with him in Vancouver. We call him the Axe. A beard, he says. There's some truth to that. The Axe can't grow a beard. I've seen it. It's terrible. It's got like 3 chin hairs. Bernadette, got to have the voice. Totally, right? I mean, it's radio. Moving on. See what else we got here. Tim, keep the topics moving. Change topic when it's run its course. A manly commanding voice allows no dead air, and that's about it. Basically, George Knapp. I agree. Jade, it's really a combination of things. Must have a good voice, have wit, sense of humor, kindness, willingness to listen to the guest and not interrupt all the time, compassion, and an open mind. That pretty much does it. Sounds like a few people that she knows. I'm not one of them, apparently. Yeah, actually I am. I'm just blushing. Thank you, Jade. Heidi, the great progenitor of all good hosts, Long John Nebel often said he didn't always believe what people said, but he always gave them a chance to say it. Art Bell did the same. He listened without judgment, embraced the woo, and wasn't afraid to ask searching questions. That's truly what makes a good host. Steve, they have to champion knowledge that empowers you. Those that are strong and wrong have to hate them. Coral, to me, it depends on what the subject is and the host's knowledge on what makes me want to listen. Personality and a sense of humor is a definite asset. Melinda, they got to listen. Let's go to Kevin and Kevin's beard. Truth, common sense, voice, planning, and a great face for radio. You have it all, Dave Scott. Oh, thank you. Somebody recognizes my face for radio. We'll do it all again on the Thought of the Dave tomorrow on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you, Captain Shirk, for the great news on the SOR Newswire, which can be found on our website. And to Darkness Dave Schrader from the Holzer Files for joining us, talking paranormal all night long. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Thank you to everybody in our chat rooms, along with Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen to us and sharing your night with the good old boy from Canada, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you for riding on the Woo train with us. The good news is we get to do it all tomorrow again as well. I'll be here. Your seat is reserved. Come join us, will you? Good night.